Okay, we're live.
Where's that damn music? Oh, here it is.
Two vets, two different worlds, one badass show. Center Mass with Rob and Silent J, blowing your mind away on the Vets Own Media Network.
Okay, what's up, everybody? Hello, good evening, and welcome back to Center Mass with Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob,
I am Silent J.
and we got a pretty good episode coming up for you tonight. We weren't able to make it last week because we had a lot of stuff going on. So we have a lot of stuff to catch up about, a lot of stuff that's coming on, and a lot of stuff that's going on in the world. We actually have somebody joining us via phone that's going to be our guest and talk about a great charity that I've mentioned a little bit on the show before. We've been sending out some Facebook stuff and things like that. So he'll be able to talk a little bit about that charity, all the great things that they're doing, and most importantly, how you can support that charity if you so please. I actually did, so I've thrown my support behind it, not just vocally and via social media and stuff like that, but I'm actually putting my money where my mouth is, and I started donating to it this week. So I would highly suggest any of you do that are out there and have the wherewithal to do so. And that's why we're having him on tonight to kind of talk a little bit about it, because I could talk about it, but I think it's a little bit better coming from the horse's mouth. And that's a really bad joke, and you'll understand just how bad it is in a little bit, but we'll get to that a little bit later. There's a couple things that I want to talk about before we really get started. Number one, I got to send this out to anybody out there. I don't know if like Google and Apple are having like a pissing contest. So if anybody's heard of this, like anything going on between them, I don't know, but trying to get on tonight, it wouldn't be Center Mass if you didn't have technical difficulties. But it took me like 4 times to actually get on tonight, because every time I logged on to Google, my Mac would just crash. And it's a little nuts because I have a really, really nice MacBook Pro that I bought for my writing and for this and for all the other stuff that I do. So I spent a pretty penny on it rather than just buying a $300 laptop. And it really pisses me off when it like just stupid little stuff like this happens. The whole thing just freezes. Like no shit, I would get to the point where I'd hit launch broadcast and everything would just freeze and I'd have to hard reset everything. Steve Jobs, I hope you're rolling over in your grave. Like what's going on here, man? I don't know. So if anybody out there knows, please let me know. We've got some really good.
Same laptop as you, and I've not had a problem with it at all. The only problem I have is when I go to put in a password, I get 1,000 messages like, "You want to save this? You want to save this in the key or whatever?" I'm like, "No, cancel, cancel, cancel." I don't want my information in the cloud at all.
Speaking of the cloud, and so this is a thing. I'm a conspiracy theorist guy. I don't trust Big Brother. I don't trust much. But that's a big thing that's been going on a lot lately. I've always been really hesitant to put any of my stuff in the cloud and stuff like that, just because I just always believe it's out there, and anybody, some dipshit in the basement with a computer somewhere can hack into it.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody that knows anything about tech has always told me, no, there's no way they could do it. There's no way they could do that. So the cloud was hacked a few weeks ago. J.P. Morgan and Chase was hacked last week. Now this one really surprised me. I got a thing. I read a thing last week that Snapchat was hacked. And so if you know what Snapchat is, it's that thing where I can basically take a picture from my phone and send it to somebody, and it's supposed to only exist for 30 seconds, or 10 seconds, or 5 seconds, or however long I choose. And whatever message I write, whatever picture I put, anything that I have is supposed to be just gone from existence, right? Not on a server, not saved anywhere. The person that got it can't save it. It's just gone. It disappears from existence. Well, Snapchat got hacked. And of course, because of that technology, a lot of people use it for very explicit photos and videos and things like that. Somebody hacked into Snapchat and posted all those racy photos and videos online. So it's like there's nothing safe anymore. So I don't know, all those people that told me, no, don't worry, you're just free for no good, who's laughing now? Who's laughing now? So just be careful when you put stuff out there, guys. I know you guys just want to send dick pics to everybody that you can, all Senator Wiener and everybody else out there.
And listen, if you're gonna take a pic and you're gonna send it, make sure the lighting's good, because it's there forever. And if you're gonna have a cyber carbon footprint forever, make sure the lighting's good, and make sure you fluffed a little bit. Don't.
Well, make sure you take advantage of, what do they call it, ratio or whatever. Just make sure make sure it's not next to like a 5-foot python or something. You know what I mean? Put it next to a little number 2 pencil that's halfway sharpened down or something, so it looks like you got a little bit more than what you're getting.
Stand in front of the 2-liter a bit, get that nice optical illusion going. So, just good point of reference, you know. That's a
point of reference. That's what
photography classes, you know.
Yeah. So it looks like Joe and I both have some good updates and stuff that's going on in our life. Yeah, we missed last week, so there was a really cool update that I wanted to share with everybody. I think I put it on Facebook. But everybody that follows this and other shows and things that I'm in knows that I'm a Mason. I'm going to be getting my 32nd degree at the end of this year, and there's this really cool thing that I found out about. There's a lot of reasons that I went into Masonry, but kind of the final straw, the straw that broke the camel's back, was I saw this thing on the History Channel about Freemasons or whatever, and it started talking about the fact that like NASA is Masonic and all the NASA patches are Masonic, and that all of the first astronauts that went to the moon were Masons, 33rd degree Masons, and they talked about all this stuff about the trajectory they came in at, and the time they went, and all these other Masonic things that went into that first moon landing. And so that was kind of cool. That's kind of what got me into Masonry. So this year, when I get my 32nd degree, who's going to be there with me but Buzz Aldrin, right? Who's a very famous 33rd degree Mason. Kind of one of the reasons I went in, and he's going to be there with me when I get my 32nd degree, which is that's a pretty cool thing. I don't know. I thought
cool.
Yeah. So all you conspiracy theorists out there, just go crazy. I am planning on taking over the world, but it's not going to be through Masonry. But yeah, that was a pretty cool thing.
Through the Illuminati. I told you this guy's NWO.
Yeah. We're going to take over the world one pancake breakfast at a time. And Joe's going to go out and rape and pillage and plunder tonight, I guess. He's got a little bit of famous stuff to add into his that I got to ask some questions and embarrass him about a little bit as we get started. What are you doing tonight, Joe?
I'm talking to you right now, as I do every Sunday night, and I'm going to be hanging out with some Buffalo Bills afterwards.
Not Cowboys. Well, actually, it's funny that that's the reference, but not like Buffalo, not Wild.
After Buffalo Bill Cody, who is a Cowboy, so in a way, I am.
And both teams kind of suck, so I guess there's a really good combination there.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got to throw in as many jabs as I can. This is from a guy who hasn't watched football in 3 or 4 years, just because I just haven't had time.
I gave up watching baseball because of analytics and all those new sports statistics. It was going to be a topic last week. I forgot that word. I hate it so much. That stupid math term.
Ratio, statistics, standard deviation, beta, alpha.
Yeah, that too. All that stuff. All the stuff I just like. Well, my neighbors are they work for the Bills, so and they're pretty cool guys. So yeah. So I'm gonna be bringing this. We're gonna be having fun. This is very dry. This patch of hair I have on my face that I want to get rid of, but I got to keep it just because it pisses people off. So I'm keeping it. So
I can't tell you how many tweets and Facebook messages and little IMs I've got from people that watch the show that just love to make fun of how much of a fucking liberal you look like with that thing.
But the thing is, I'm not liberal by any stretch of the imagination. I didn't vote for this guy. Actually, you know what? I didn't vote for any guys. I didn't vote. That's my choice. I went to the Middle East to figure out that no matter who I vote for, I could end up in some messed up places. So I'm just gonna stay out of it unless I see a libertarian candidate on there. But I am not liberal just because I have style. Listen, all you people out there wearing cowboy hats and Spurs in the 21st century, cut it out. Stop it. You don't need that. You don't need a revolver with a 6-shooter on your hip. You don't need any of that.
I beg to differ on that point. Well,
yeah.
Snub nose, 38 snub nose. That's not a bad thing to have on your hip.
Yeah, true. Good point. But I take that back. But listen, it's the 21st century. Looking like a beatnik has its advantages when you're 35 going to school. People don't realize you're as old as what you actually are. So sending Rob tweets and messages about that, I'm keeping it this way. I'm you know what? I'm going to drink tea from Teavana next week during the show just to piss you guys off. I don't even like tea.
I'll be drinking straight whiskey because I haven't had. So that's another thing that we're going into. I have. I'm taking a test tomorrow morning. I've been studying like a bastard for the last month for this thing. It's called the Series 65 exam. So it's
I'm serious.
I don't know, when you're talking about like financial exams and credits, it's essentially having a Series 65 makes me an IAR, an investment advisory representative. It means I can manage large-scale institutional level active money management. I can start my own mutual fund. I can do a lot of things like that. So you can imagine the kind of test that would require, and it's at 7:30 in the morning. And it's at 7:30 in the morning, an hour away through Los Angeles traffic. So I mean, I'm leaving at 5:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Yeah. So as soon as I get the little thing that says I passed the test and walk out of there, I'm going to be drinking straight whiskey for the next week. So I'll see you guys, and then I'll start actively managing large sums of money when I'm done with that. But yeah, I'll have a drink next week because I think I deserve it. Yeah. So that'll be a lot of fun. So enough about us.
Good luck. That sounds boring. Have fun being boring.
I'm a nerd.
Being a fake liberal, and I'm going to be going to film school because that's fun. What Rob does is boring. He rules the world, and I make you laugh.
I'm a nerd, and I really like that stuff, and I take it pretty seriously because by doing what I do, I'm managing people's retirement. I'm taking care of their families, and I'm making sure they have what they need to retire. Right? That's when I sit down for the first time with people, I figure out. It's one of the big things. How much debt do you have? When do you want to retire? How much money do you need to retire with? Do you have kids? Are they going to college? Where do you want them to go to college? How much is that going to cost? I figure out all that stuff, and then it's my job to figure out, okay, you need $3 million in retirement. We have 20 years to get you there, and then map out a pathway to actually get them there. And then you got to take into account, taxability, safety, stability, volatility, returns, their own investment objectives, and their own risk, how cool they are with risk. So I take it pretty seriously, and I just love that stuff. As much as you hate like statistics and those numbers, standard deviations give me wood, right? I just love it. I love seeing a low standard deviation and a high alpha. It just makes me very happy.
I like more of the substandard deviations. That gives me wood. So I like a little sack behind it. So.
Yeah. All right, so enough about us. So I sent out some tweets. I sent out some stuff on Facebook this week. I actually sent out the first one a month or so ago because a buddy of mine got involved with this really cool organization called Heroes for Horses. One thing that you guys know about me, when I wrote Let Me When I'm Gone, I looked around for a bunch of veterans organizations to get behind and support, and I was not very happy with a lot of them because there's a lot of them out there that really don't do what they say they're going to do. They don't put their money where their mouth is, and they're just not all they're cracked up to be. So that's why I searched so long. I was very happy when I found USA Cares. I found an organization that I could really get behind. I'm very careful about who I attach my name to and who I really put my support to, because that I know just how much good a good charity can do. I really don't. So I'm really happy that a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, found another charity that is doing a lot for them. So he's on the phone right now, and he called in. He's going to talk a little bit about the charity, what it is that they do, how he got involved with the charity, and most importantly, how it is that you guys can support it. So, Ray, are you there?
Yeah, man.
How's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me on your show. Before I start, I really got to tell you that I disagree with the Chinks, the revolver, spurs, boots, and hat. I wear those all the time. And
I knew. As soon as I said it, I'm like, got to know your company.
Yeah.
Kind of important for me, I'll be riding by myself across the continent on Levada, and there's going to be some big grizz. You're going to want a 44 mag on your hip when that happens.
Yeah,
well, so that's
if you see anybody with spurs and a cowboy hat, it's hipster. But yeah, you have a valid reason for wearing attire.
Fair enough.
Well, so that brings up a really good point. So the organization that you're involved with is called Heroes for Horses. So
Heroes and horses.
Heroes and horses. Heroes and horses. Heroes and horses. So how exactly did you find these guys? Like, how did you get involved, and what is it that Heroes and Horses does?
So how it pretty much happened is that when I left the military after 10 years working in special operations, I started contracting a lot, like a lot of guys do. And I got on this project overseas working with Mike Fink, who's the president of Heroes and Horses, and he called me up this past spring and invited me out to Montana to help him out. He knew when I was in Army Special Forces, I did animal packing. I was an instructor at the mountaineering course, so I went out there and helped him out on a few pack trips, getting his feet wet and learning the ropes, and had a really good time. And it made a big impact on me because their whole philosophy is change through diversity. And I've been in the Army for 10 years, been contracting for 4 or 5 years. I've been in a lot of war zones, and like a lot of guys, I have a lot of stuff that's going on, and it really helped me. Being out in the mountains, replacing bad memories with really great memories, and that's what they're trying to do: is get guys out in some place that's beautiful, get them working again, making them feel complete, feel like a soldier again. Before they got their wounds, whatever it was, a mental or physical wound. And I was we split up into 2 teams one day, and I was riding with the founder, Mark White, and he stops and all of a sudden turns and looks at me and goes, "Ray, what are you going to do?" And it was like one of those life questions, big question, kind of like what your dad will say to you when you're 18 and you haven't applied for college yet, and he wants to know what you're going to do. And I looked at him and I said, I'm gonna get a pack string together. I'm gonna ride from my house to Bozeman, Montana. And he said, okay. And that's what I'm doing now. And the whole point is obviously give equipment and animals for the not-for-profit, but also to gain exposure for them by really putting the program.
And so that's what you're working on right now. You're actually working on organizing a trip, right? You're gonna get together and go out and help them.
Yeah. So the trip next summer is a solo trip. It's just me. But the purpose of it is to help soldiers, is to help service members.
And so how exactly is it going to go about helping them? So what exactly is this trip going to comprise of, and what are you going to be doing on it?
Well, the trip is, in order to have the trip happen, I have to raise funds to purchase tack and animals. That's the biggest monetary thing I'm going to be doing for Heroes and Horses. When I get to Bozeman, they're going to get a free tack string with all the tack that they need to bring soldiers or service members out into the mountains. And that's huge. $20,000 is a lot of money. And it easily come by. And on top of that, we're trying to have a lot of exposure with the media. The more people that know about this program, the more veterans we can get into it, the more people we can help.
And when people will donate to your campaign, and right now you have a GoFundMe campaign that's going, that's what I donated to, and that's what I suggest anybody else out there that's listening to this does. What exactly is that money going to go to? So the money that I put into the GoFundMe campaign 2 days ago, where exactly is that going to go, and how is that going to help?
Thank you, by the way. But all the money from the GoFundMe account is going only to buying tack and animals. After that's purchased, any extra funds goes directly to Heroes and Horses. So nothing will be purchased with donated money for me personally. I'm footing the bill for all the food and the veterinary care for the animals. Any equipment that I personally need.
So every dollar that people put in, that's actually going to go to physically buying the animals and buying the equipment that you're going to ride from Colorado to Bozeman, Montana, and then you're going to hand all that stuff over to Heroes and Horses to utilize for the charity and bring other veterans out for what they do.
Exactly. Those animals are going to have an extra 3 months to get some training. Every dollar is going to go to a tangible item that's going to help the veteran. Nothing's going to be squandered. Nothing's going to be wasted. And that's the biggest thing that excites me about this not-for-profit in particular, is that their overhead, their funds that go elsewhere besides for helping out the people they're spent to, it doesn't exist. This is a really honest, good not-for-profit, and I know them personally, and he has my utmost respect because of that.
That's
awesome.
Refreshing that, like I said, 100% go to the organization itself. It's not wasted. I mean, that's a big deterrent, I think, for a lot of people, especially as some of these instances come to light of how little your money actually goes to a charity, and whether it be a large corporate style charity or like a small grassroots style one. So it's pretty refreshing to hear that you guys are actually using the money in the proper way, and it's not going to waste, and it's not just going into somebody's pocket. So that's pretty cool, man.
Very cool. Very exciting.
So how do people go and donate to your campaign? Where can people find, so if somebody's just listening to this, whether it be on Google Hangouts or YouTube or on Vets on Media, how can somebody find your campaign to donate to your trip to help Heroes and Horses?
Well, there's two ways to do it. One of the easier ways is to go to heroesandhorses.com, and once you're arriving at that page, there's a link that says SF Solo Expedition. Click on that, and it tells you about my trip, what I'm trying to do for the organization, and how I'm going to be trying to help veterans. And at the bottom of that, there's a link that takes you to the GoFundMe page. You can choose to go directly to the GoFundMe page. All you have to do is type in Heroes and Horses Expedition, and it'll take you right to my page. And you can make a donation there, and anything would be greatly appreciated.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and make sure that we put that up. So anybody listening, if you want to find that, we'll have links to it on the Facebook page. We'll tweet everything out, so you can just go check out any of the Center Mass stuff. You can check out the Google, check out the Facebook. We'll talk to Adam and Jamie and see if maybe we can get it on vetsonmedia.com as well, just so we can kind of put it out and get some more notoriety out there so as many people can see it. So for anybody listening, if this is something that interests you, make sure you go check that out. So you can go to the Facebook page, check out the Google Plus page or anything else, or go straight to heroesandhorses.com, and again, that's the SF Solo Mission. So you can read up a little bit about it, see some great pictures of Ray looking like very much like Jeremiah Johnson. I love that picture that's on there.
I just looked at the site. Holy cow, that's I know Colorado and Montana, pretty far apart, a lot of land out there. Didn't realize how big it was until I saw that little dotted trail.
Yeah.
I'll help you guys out, but if you can I drive a car?
Yeah, you probably won't find me, but sure.
A Jeep or something. I've never been on a horse.
Are you serious?
I got no reason to go on a horse, Rob. I mean, what are we going to do? Hey, I'm going to go down to the deli. Let me jump on a horse quick.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. I have a buddy of mine.
Both ends and crafty in the middle.
Maybe a motorcycle. I don't know. I had a buddy of mine in high school that during high school, during the summers, he would go up to, I can't remember where it was in Colorado, but somewhere, out in the middle of nowhere, and he was essentially a tour guide. So there was like a wealthy German couple that decided they just wanted to move out to, they wanted to move up to Colorado. I'm going to remember the name as soon as we log off. But he'd go out there for the summers, and he was a tour guide. He'd basically take these visitors to their ranch out in about in the backcountry, and he would tell me he had to carry a 357 at all times. He had a 30-06, and he had rifles in the Jeep, but they'd go on horseback, and he'd have to have a 357 on his hip at all times just because bears. There was just always a threat of bears coming and jacking people. And I had to ask him, I was like, a 357, is that really going to do much against a big old black bear or a grizzly bear? He'd go, no, but it'll slow him down a little bit, just enough for me to get back to the Jeep, probably.
Yeah, and on the showcase, if you're watching this on Google Hangout or YouTube right now, and you click on the showcase tab, it's a little yellow, looks like a price tag of some sorts or a toe tag. There's the Heroes and Horses website. There's the link on it, and it scrolls through it's got their logo up there, so you can click right on the link from here and check it out.
Awesome. We'll make sure that we get it out everywhere that we can so we can try and promote it a little bit more. Again, anybody listening, that's heroesandhorses.com. Go to the website and then check out the SF Solo Mission tab so you can check out this cool trip, this cool expedition that Ray's going to be undertaking next year to go and help out that charity, and most importantly, help out veterans that really need it. Anybody that's, there are a fair amount of people from the military that, came from the city and didn't really spend any time in the backwoods. But if you're one of those people that ever has spent some time camping, spent time, if you were in one of those units that spent a lot of times in the woods of Camp McCall or wherever it was, when you're in the military, you know just how kind of liberating and freeing it can be to get away from everything and kind of go out to the middle of nowhere where you don't see any ambient lights. You can see every star in the sky. You can hear a mosquito fart from a half a mile away. It really is. It's nice every once in a while to get away.
It's called a pterodactyl.
Oh yeah, pterodactyls. So speaking of pterodactyls, we'd like to say thanks a lot, Ray, for coming on. And I'd like to ask, we got a couple of topics that we're going to go over tonight on the show that I think might be right up your reality, because I've known you for quite a while. I think you and I see things pretty eye to eye. How'd you about hanging out for a little bit and chatting with us on some of these other topics we're going to talk about?
Yeah, it sounds great, man.
Great. So I'm going to start off with something that I think might get your blood pumping and show, I think, I don't know, you and I talk, kind of danced around this issue a little bit, but we've never really gone directly into it. But there's something that came up in the media recently that, I don't know, really kind of made me, it kind of took me aback seeing how both sides are approaching this issue. So if you've been paying attention, in the last week there have been some reports coming out that 4 potential ISIS fighters were caught and detained along the Mexican, I think it was Mexico-Texas border. And the thing that really gets me about this is that every media outlet seemed to immediately take a partisan side. They didn't actually do any investigative journalism, but you could look at it left and right. And the right said, oh, it's ISIS fighters. It's proof that we needed to beef up the border. And the left came out and immediately said, no, there's no way they're ISIS fighters. There's no proof of that. There's none of this. And there's no way that would happen. And we couldn't get an entire army across the border and whatnot. And the thing that really bothers me is not just that journalism no longer does any investigation, that they just go purely according to what their sponsors want them to say, but it's that nobody's looking at that underlying issue. You know, whether you think it's just propaganda and it's like the war machine trying to get funding to beef up the border in Mexico or pay for more DHS agents or whatever it is, the thing that scares me is that it's a very good possibility that even if these guys weren't ISIS agents, if in fact ISIS is making these claims that they're going to be sending terror groups to the United States to hunt down soldiers and their families, the Mexico-U.S. border is porous at best. And so people that don't really understand too much about how invasions work and things like that, that's what you do. You try and find a chink in the armor. You try and find anywhere you can get through. And so it's been in the media the last, month or so. Russia and China have been sending a lot of jets closer and closer to our border lately. Essentially, it seems as if they would be testing our defenses. They're testing response times. It's what you want to do when you want to try a good way to actually get in somewhere. And it doesn't mean that they're actually going to do it, but it does give some indication that they're looking for what they would do. Now, that's another thing that we would at any given time. That's why we have, intelligence officials throughout the world, because even if we're not actively planning to invade a country, if something happens and we need to know how to do it at the drop of a dime, you want to test people's defenses and know exactly what the best way to go about that would be at any given time. So the thing that bothers me is that even if these guys are not ISIS agents, and we really don't have any true investigative journalism telling us one way or the other if they are or if they aren't, the thing that worries me is that it highlights the fact that it is a very distinct possibility that we know ISIS is coming out and saying they're going to send agents to the United States of America and hunt down soldiers and their families. We know that the Mexican border would be a very great way for them to do that if they wanted to do it, because just like drug cartels, you don't have to send everybody the same way at the same time. You send small groups of people, and statistically, some are going to get through, right? They might not all get through, but really when you're talking about terrorism, domestic terrorism, you really only need a few. You only need a small handful, and they can cause an awful lot of damage within our own borders. So that's something I kind of wanted to open up. Have you guys been paying attention to this story? Have you seen what's going on? And how do you guys think this kind of comes into play as far as our domestic terrorism and as far as the defense of our own borders? Do you guys see this as something as important, or do you think it's just a non-issue?
Rob, I think there's a massive issue here. And I'm going to quote old Benji here, paraphrase a little bit. Those that sacrifice their freedom for security deserve neither. I'm really concerned about the fact that our security, our TSA agents, our Department of Homeland Security, they're inept. And you know that as well as I do. They don't know what their job is. They don't know how to do their job. And if they do know how to do their job, their hands are tied through politics. So they're going to use a lot of excuses to have more power and control, because relevant to what political party it is, everyone in power always wants more power. That's just the nature of the beast. It's the human quagmire. So that's a huge concern right off the bat. Now let's go to the reality of bad guys trying to come into this country. You said it doesn't matter how many get here. You're right. They can get in. They still accomplish the job. They don't have to actually do anything that's successful. They could do a small little event that causes Americans to fundamentally change the way they live every day, and they win. So I'm not even worried about them pulling down my street, getting out and assault my home and me getting into a gunfight, or bombing sporting events. I don't really care about that. Those are smaller issues to me. What I care about is Americans fundamentally having their lives completely changed forever. And that's already starting to happen. They're already winning at that game.
Well, and for me, it seems just the complete lack of disregard that, it seems, especially when people start using politics and they're just using this, the fight becomes, well, it's just trying to get more money for the border, and people lose sight of that exact issue. If they are getting in, and you're right, because it's both sides. I mean, the side that is taking it to issue, are they taking that to issue just to scare us and bring us into this era of fear, which fundamentally changes our life? And you're right, just like Ben Franklin said, it's causing us to give up our rights in the name of security, and we're not actually getting more security, but we are in fact losing our rights. And it's a very libertarian ideology that every time we give up a little bit of those rights, whether or not it is for truth or not, whether it is for a real instance or not, we are giving up those rights. And just like taxes, the government loves to say, well, this is a temporary tax. We have a deficit right now, so we're going to give this temporary tax, and we'll repeal it as soon as we have a surplus again. Temporary taxes never go away. The same thing happens when your rights are repealed. When they take your rights away, they never give those rights back. They're gone until something drastic happens, like a revolution.
Yeah, we live in a society where government, people, media, we're a reactionary society. We're not proactive in any way, especially government. After 9/11, you look at the Patriot Act. It just we gotta do this to protect you, and just sweeping laws and legislation, and just took away a ton of laws. And now we have people with Velcro badges on that are telling us how we can move and when we can move, in an airport. And it's like, I don't think that was the intent, I don't think anybody with a blue shirt's going to be able to save me when I'm, I think, a little more educated in terms of security than somebody just waving me through an airport with a wand. But you look at, the way I look at it with the government, with both political parties, well, they want to do it to fund the money for the border, to close down the border. Who was it that said, never let a good
that was Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, Emanuel.
Never let a good crisis go to waste.
Yeah, and I think from having that mindset with both political parties the last, 200 years, that unfortunately people have that natural reaction of, okay, you're going to use this as an excuse. Like you said, those guys might have been ISIS. One political party might have a great point. We need to stop this. We need to beef up security. Then you look at the flip side of the coin. It may not have, and again, we're going to have this knee-jerk reaction of maybe a possible threat that wasn't there now, could be down the road, but wasn't there now, and we're going to, here's our money, and here's our security, and here's our freedoms. And at the end of the day, I don't think we're going to be any more secure, because you look at Boston, you look at that idiot with the underwear bomb, you look at all these things that have gone on in the U.S., in Europe, around the world. It's only a couple guys. You only need one. You only need two guys. I mean, so exactly. Unfortunately, I don't think anything we do is going to be able to stop one or two people. I think something like that. That's when government agencies need to talk to each other instead of competing with each other. And I think I believe is the we've had, where the CIA gets jealous of the FBI, and the FBI gets jealous of this person, and this person gets, has got a hard on because they can do it and the other groups can't. It's like, cut it out.
Yeah. Rob, I think the answer to our problem on these borders and people that want to come to America, whether it's to start a better life or to kill Americans, I think the answer isn't spending more money and putting more security on there. I think it's through economic policies, removing the incentive for people to hate Americans or to violate our sovereignty illegally coming into our country. That's the only way to stop it. It's a very libertarian approach, and not a lot of people agree with that. But that's probably what I would try to focus on it if I had a day in power. Or after you rule the world, you can hire me, and I'll do that for you.
Did either one of you see that movie Machete?
Yeah.
That's what you need. You need a giant wall and Charlie Sheen as president. That's how you'll stop it. Just 200, 203, 400-foot wall there. Problem solved.
I would love to live in a world where Charlie Sheen was president of America for one day. Just one day.
That would be fun.
That would be fun. I think it could be interesting.
And if he's a Mason, it could happen.
Was he a Mason?
No, I don't know. Rob dropped off. Rob will be back on. I thought I was looking at Rob, and froze, so he'll be back on. Yeah, that's it's funny how in a movie like that, a lot of movies where they take such like a drastic scene like that where there's a giant wall, and then you look at it, it's like that might make sense, and then you also look at it, is that what it's going to have to come to? I mean, a fence isn't going to do anything,
Yeah, well, walls don't work.
Yeah,
it's like a Christmas present. Once you wrap it up, what's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? You put a wall up on the other side of the wall. I bet you their water over there tastes better. Causing forced segregation is never the answer. Although it may feel good at the moment. Like, I know Israel must really like having walls, and if I was an Israeli, I'd probably really want to have walls too.
Yeah.
But is that going to, in the long run, is that really going to aid, or is that going to hinder? I truly do believe in through economic policies, strong economic policies, where you encourage economic growth of everyone. You have a more peaceful life.
See, that's the point. I look at it, especially with our with our borders. Money is security, and I think you look at Canada. We don't have a problem with Canada. They have a very good economy. They have a strong economy for the most part, a westernized economy of sorts.
Yeah.
Then you look at Mexico, and yeah, it's not the same thing. Yeah, I mean, you could. Border guards could only do so much before you really got to sit there and be like, okay, what's the root of the problem? And I don't think something like that will ever get fixed. I think there's too much money involved to not fix certain issues when it comes to security within the United States and within the government. It's a lucrative. My anniversary for the military is this Thursday, 14 years. And I've learned a long time ago that we're not in the business to fix anything. We're in the business to just quell it just enough so it doesn't boil over.
Yeah, it's logical.
Yeah, and I think and there's the Shadow Man. He's back. No, he's not. His head. No, he's not.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, Steve Jobs,
Dude,
I'm gonna find where you're buried, and I'm gonna come mess with your grave, man.
I think you got a few people that are already going to be trying that. Bill Gates, whoever runs Samsung. It's funny. We know as Americans, we know the leaders of the large corporations in America, but you get a large corporation like Samsung, which internationally just as big as I think like Apple or Microsoft or Google. I couldn't tell you who the hell runs Samsung because it's foreign. I don't know. A naive American. That's what I am.
Well, Alibaba, and I think that's, I don't know, a lot of other places around the world, it's not, I think it's just, the way that we work in American enterprise, like if you work for a company, anybody out there that works for any company, think of the last time you actually met the CEO of your company, right? If you work for a very large enterprise, think of the last time you actually met the CEO and got to sit down and talk with them. However, if you drive a truck for your company, or if you go to work tomorrow and you kill somebody at work and it's like obviously your fault and you're at work, who are they going to blame? The CEO of your company. It's just the way that we are in the United States. Like this guy that really is so many levels of separation away from whatever person it is that does whatever it is that screws up whatever it is, we just want to blame somebody, so we blame the CEO. And that's a big reason why CEOs in the United States get paid so much money, because they got to be the fall guy. They got to be the scapegoat. And some companies rotate CEOs as soon as they screw up. There's a lot of Fortune 500 companies that have changed CEOs a dozen times in the last 5 years because every time something happens, everybody just calls for the CEO's resignation. Every media outlet automatically jumps all over the CEO. It's just what happens. The rest of the world, I think, has a little bit more sanity where they understand, oh, it's not that guy's fault. A lot of their companies are divided into a lot of other sub-companies, like Samsung. You know, they have their phone division, they got the TV division, they got whatever else it is that they do. And they're kind of broken up into these different things, and so they'll have a CEO of each different company, and then you got Samsung in general. Whereas Apple, it's just all Apple, right? They have their Apple products, and so that's kind of everybody just knows that. Or like Jeff Bezos with Amazon, even though Amazon does a bunch of different things. If one of those Amazon drones crashes and kills a village of people, whose fault are they going to say it is? It's Jeff Bezos. It's not the guy who's flying the drone, not the guy that made the drone. It's Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, and listen, when Amazon goes completely public and delivers, you know, products by drone, I am starting a new business. I am getting out of the entertainment and media business. I'm going into the business of selling nets with 75-foot poles.
That's a great idea.
Guaranteed not to break. And you can't. I'm just gonna stand. I am going to say there is a no-fly zone in my backyard, and I see one of those drones, swipe it with the net, and it's mine now. That and the package. But I want the drone more than the package because I want to have fun.
You bring up a really interesting point. I just read an article the other day. I forget where it was in the country, but a man had a drone that was flown over his private property. The owner of the drone was his neighbor trying to take video footage of his own home. But the drone over the guy's property didn't know what the cameras were looking at, so he pulled out a rifle or a shotgun and shot the drone. The police came, arrested the guy that shot the drone. He was like, "Hey, this thing was flying over my property. It could have been taking video of my kids or looking in through the windows when someone in my house was going to the bathroom or whatever." That's a huge issue when you start seeing Amazon drones flying over public or private property.
See, pretty soon we're gonna get out of the business of the whole Roe versus Wade argument or marijuana, yes or no. We're gonna be in the society of drones or no drones. 40 years from now, that's gonna be a huge wedge, I think, in the political world. Like, I want my flying car and my drone. The other political party, we're gonna protect you from those flying cars and those drones, and that's going to be the next big thing. Is going to be technology to keep the heartbeat of the elephant and the donkey pumping.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a thing that scares me, and this is just, I was a huge Terminator, movie series fan when I was a kid. Terminator 1, 2, and 3. Speaking of drones and this whole technology debate and things like that, there is actually a publicly traded company named Skynet out there right now. I saw that when I was running on the treadmill and watching the market. I was just like, Jesus, that's it. Jesus, jumping Jesus on a pogo stick. That's a sign of the apocalypse. That's it. That's it. And if I find out they make robots or they work with DARPA contracts or something like that, I'm gonna dig the hole, I'm gonna hide in the hole, and I'm gonna get a shotgun, and I'm just not coming out until I hear the explosion.
And then I'll be like, "Hey guys, can I please use one of those horses?" I mean,
yeah, then you won't be making fun of people with a pistol on their hip anymore. Really, you
you know what's really gonna be the end of the world is when it's like we have to put guns on our drones so our packages can get there safely. That is gonna be the end. That's when I go to Belize. That's when I go to Belize with my big net, and I'm gonna go chill on the beach with a big net and some girl probably 40 years younger than me.
Well, and that does, in all seriousness, that idea, that case brings up a really good point. Every UPS delivery airplane or FedEx delivery airplane has UPS or FedEx on the side of it. Every UPS or FedEx truck is a big truck that has UPS or FedEx on the side of it. But by nature of drones, those Amazon drones are pretty small. Even if it says Amazon on it, you can't really see. I mean, especially if they're flying up in the sky. And so I think that guy had a pretty significant right to do what he did because you don't know whose that is. He didn't know that was his neighbor's. There's nothing on there that says, hey, this is your neighbor Joe's drone, and I'm just taking pictures of my thing. All he knew and all you know is that there's a drone on your property, and I don't know, I feel like he was completely within his right to do that because that's, at the end of the day, your most inalienable God-given right is to protect you and your family. you know, and so who knows? How is he supposed to know that? There are some states that have been giving out drone hunting permits, which make it completely legal to shoot down a drone. Constantly doing business for Amazon. They can afford to lose a few.
Can you imagine? I mean, there's got to be somebody out there. I'm just going to use a hickish accent. I'm going to say Kentucky, because I don't know anybody from Kentucky other than Justin Jordan, one of our Tactical 16 authors. There's a good cheap plug. Go check his book out, Stories of a Mortuary NCO, Then I Cried. But I could just see some guy that's not privy to the internet or drones. He's just going to be walking through Kentucky, you know, in the woods, and just look, what in the fuck? And there's a goddamn robot up there, and just shoot it. And just be oblivious to what's going on, and this poor guy is just going to run for the hills and not know what the hell's happening.
Well, and you know, a buddy of mine, and so talking about drones and what they could be potentially used for, like, yeah, some might take pictures, but a friend of our family, one of my dad's buddies that he flew with when he was a pilot for a long time, this guy loved airplanes. He flew remote control airplanes, and he would go to like those big air shows, remote control air shows, where they would have like full-blown air shows with nothing but RC airplanes. This guy would make like B-17 complete, like perfect replicas, but they would have like 20-foot wingspans, right? These like, when you think of a remote controlled airplane or a drone, you think of this little thing you can hold in your hand. But these were, I mean, enormous, like bigger than trucks, like huge, huge, huge things with 4 full-blown engines on them. And he would make bombs, right? That was his big thing. They would invite him out to a lot of air shows because not only would he fly this thing around and it looks really cool, but he could actually make bombs. And he would drop these gas-filled bombs at the air show and they would explode, right? So if you can put that on a remote control airplane, you can put that on a drone. Right, that's what our drones are used for overseas tactically, right? They Hellfire missiles and airstrikes. But if high schoolers can make pipe bombs and go to Columbine and wreak havoc, somebody can sit in their garage right now and make a bunch of pipe bombs and put that thing on a drone or a remote control airplane and fly it to somebody who doesn't like it and drop the payload and not have to be there on scene when the police show up and start shooting. Right? So that's a pretty scary concept right there.
But you know what? We demand innovation, and that's just the next step. I mean, so it's like people now, I could kind of tie this in. I hope I can. If not, I got 2 very intelligent former Green Berets that could maybe help me out here. You know, we clamor for, you know, our privacy. We all want our privacy, how nothing's secure. Kmart just said that I think it was their pay system was hacked. And then Snapchat was hacked, and all these other things. iCloud has been, or the cloud, whatever. I don't even know what the cloud is. It was hacked. We have no privacy, but yet everybody walks around with a phone connected to the internet with a camera on it. So yeah, we want our privacy, but we're the first ones to violate our own privacy. I think the same thing with drones. We all want our security. We all want our privacy. We don't want these little robots flying over our heads. But as soon as somebody gets their tax return, what are they going to do? Probably somebody that shouldn't be affording something like that. They're going to go and get a drone because, you know, it's going to elevate them socially because technology is the latest, jewelry. Jewelry was back in the day. You have a nice ring, nice watch, you know, you were established of sorts. Now it's, okay, I got the best phone. Now I got a drone. And, you know, so then, like you said, you know, there's cameras on them, take pictures. Next thing you know, I got to one-up you, so I'm going to have 2 cameras. Well, I'm going to shoot yours. Now, you know what? Now I'm going to go buy another one, and I'm going to go drop a pipe bomb on you because you shot my nice drone with 2 cameras.
How long until you think they start having gang warfare with drones? Isn't that a scary concept?
Could you little red drones and little drones?
Man, I live in Los Angeles. That's a very scary concept. At least I'm far enough outside of the city where that wouldn't be an issue where I live, but still, that's kind of scary. Or drug cartels, man. Imagine like the Medellin cocaine cartel flying drones across the Mexican border to take out targets here in Texas.
I tell you what, you'll get a special. I'm in the net business now, folks. If you buy a net now and you're in Texas, whatever you snatch that's coming across the border, give me half of, and I'll throw in a second net for free.
Well, that's, talking about that, that's a very scary subject because I saw, I read a thing a long time ago, or maybe I saw a History Special thing. Cocaine cartels are making submarines they have the technology to make their own freaking submarines. If they can make a submarine, they can make a drone. It's a lot easier technology. You don't even be able to go in it. God, imagine that, man, because there's nobody that you got to worry about, turning around or getting cold feet. You just pilot the thing across. There's no way for them to catch who's actually flying it. Man, that's a scary concept.
I'm sorry, that's I don't know. That's wow. They need to make a movie about that.
Either that or I need to start running cocaine, because that's a great idea, and it takes a whole lot of your culpability out of it. And now that I've announced that on national radio, that's probably not a smart decision.
No.
But I mean, it's scary because you're right. Technology can bring so many good things, but it can also bring so many bad things, right? So that's
still waiting for a flying car, though.
Yeah, what the Back to the Future, man? What's up? Where's my hoverboard? Where's my flying car?
One, they destroyed it because it caused too much trouble. You don't remember that? It was totally real.
Oh.
Back to the Future Part 3.
I thought he was serious. He got me on that one. You know what, though? If they have hoverboards, you're never going to catch me on a horse. Why do I need to be on a horse when I can have a hoverboard?
Dude, I would kill to have a hoverboard.
Yeah.
I can't even ride a regular skateboard without scraping every inch of skin off my body. So that I would love it, but I would have to just hoverboard in foam pits all day long because I get myself into trouble with that.
Well, Rob, I kept your padded helmet from back when we were on a team together. Your way.
I had one of those big special helmets. It was made for when I rode in the back of the Humvee and licked the windows all day long. So speaking of hoverboards and licking windows in the back of Humvees, we were talking a little bit earlier about the Mexican border. Sorry, I'm horrible with segues, so I just go right into it. We're talking about the Mexican border and the porous border, and I'm writing for this local newspaper where I am now, and I wrote this article about that. We talked about the ISIS thing, and there's one thing that kind of really came up. That it seems the left fights so hard to keep the any kind of border patrol or keep anything we can off that border. Because in all reality, it really is, it's a way for them to get more voters, right? It really is a way for them to get more voters in, because we know when people come across, they're going to vote for the DNC. And, of course, the DNC wants to make voter regulations as lax as absolutely possible so people can come in and anybody can vote. But the thing that really bothers me is we're fighting as hard as we can to let everybody that we can get across the border, whether they're ISIS agents or not, whether they're documented or not, whoever they are. But there's one person we can't seem to get across the border, and that's Sergeant Tamarisi, right? This Marine Reserve sergeant who's been in jail in Mexico for over 6 months. If you don't know the story, then you've been hiding under a rock. But essentially this guy was driving in South Texas. He had a rifle in his trunk. There's a part near the border where once you get within like a half mile of the border, there is no turnaround. And there is no sign. There's like one little hidden sign that actually is, where it tells you where you need to turn off a half mile before you get to the border. But once you pass that, and I remember seeing a thing on a couple different news stations where they actually drove this and showed just how easy it is to miss that sign if you don't know where you're going. He actually, he went into a Kmart, bought something, came out, and got turned around and ended up on the other side of the border. They found the rifle in his trunk and put him in jail. Didn't give him a prosecutor, didn't give him anything. But the thing that really bothers me about this is that it doesn't seem like our government is doing anything to get him back. And this guy is not, he's an American citizen. He's a uniformed member of the United States military. He's a Marine. He's a reserve, but he is a Marine. He's a member of the United States military. And that's supposed to be one of the biggest comforts you have as an American when you travel abroad. That's why we have all these organizations that if you get into trouble, they're supposed to be.
And I think we lost Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to touch up on what he was talking about? Get your opinion, because I've never been to the Mexico border, and that's what I was wondering, like how, for somebody that's not familiar with that border, it's like how dumb can you be, or how easy of a sign is that to miss, or how does it come up on you? I don't know if you've ever been to the Mexican border down there.
Not where this has happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
Only in Cali, down by San Diego. But I can tell you this though. The guy made mistakes. Whether he did it intentionally or not, I find it relevant.
Yeah.
The point is that he shows intent right now that it was truly an accident. All he wants to do is go home. He's sorry he had whatever kind of, I was told that there were relics. I'm not sure. I don't think that there are AR-15s or modern style combat weapons. We have one guy that illegally crosses the border and with nonsense stuff, essentially. Who really cares? In the meantime, literally hundreds of thousands of people have come across the border this summer carrying lethal diseases that now we have kids all across America, since our government deposited all these illegals all over the place, that are getting paralyzed. Some of them are dying. We have ISIS agents crossing the border. We have the Mexican army guiding cartels across the border, providing security for them. We actually have a militant country to our southern border that is providing aid to these people that are violating our sovereignty. And we don't do anything about it. Our president just had his 200th day of golfing today since he's been in office. And we have this one guy who committed a small accident who there hasn't even been a conference about it. Nothing.
Yeah. But
that's
that's the sad thing. I could understand if he was like, smuggling whatever, whether drugs, money, whatever the case may be. It's like, but for a simple mistake, there was a case similar to this, not an international border, but there was a woman in, I want to say, New Jersey, a mom. She got either New Jersey or Philadelphia. She was in one of the two. It might have been Philadelphia. She had a pistol permit, carry and conceal. She had it on her. She did all her safety courses. She was driving and went over a bridge, went into the Jersey side of Philly and was pulled over. And she told the police officer, hey, I have a pistol on me. I have my pistol permit. I'm trying to get back into Philly, I think it was. They arrested her and felony charges for crossing the state line with a firearm. I think she went from Philly into New Jersey because I don't think you can carry in New Jersey.
Yeah,
and,
I think that sounds right.
Yeah, something like that. So it's like mistakes happen, and it's like there's the right person to go after, then there's the wrong person to go after. Why vilify somebody that made a mistake, whether it was a careless mistake or was just in a bad situation.
Yeah. Your example you just gave, though, I think is a lot worse than this sergeant's case. Because now you're talking about U.S. sovereign soil. We have inalienable rights that are guaranteed by our Creator. And it doesn't say who our Creator is because we have freedom of religion. Go ahead and choose who your Creator is. Yep. It doesn't matter. But a part of that is the Second Amendment. So we have a right to bear arms. And it's inalienable. There's no one that can tell me in any state, because we have the 10th and 11th Amendment, states can't revoke my right to carry a gun to protect myself, whether it's in my home, car, or in public streets. No one can supersede the Second Amendment. It's impossible. So that lady is even in a worse situation than that sergeant is, because now we have our own government trying to remove her rights to be able to protect herself. That is a very sad state.
Yeah, I just moved back to New York. I was stationed in the Midwest with the Army, and then I was just stationed south of Pittsburgh. And now I'm back home going to school full time, and I wanted to get a firearm when I was in Wisconsin, but I knew I was going to be going back to New York, and I'm like, I can't do that. And then the same thing in Pennsylvania. Now you can't even buy like an AR-15, AK, anything. No, you can't. No, nothing of that sorts in New York State. My cousin has a carry and conceal. And he's prior service, and he works in the law field, and just the amount of time and energy and money you have to spend in certain states just to practice a constitutional right, or a natural right, being able to protect yourself. It's insane. And this is upstate New York. You go downstate, you go to New York City, it's tens of thousands of dollars so you can carry a firearm in Manhattan.
It's ridiculous.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I'm going through that right now. My carry permit for Colorado expired in July. and you have to spend all this money to get a permit, and you have to go to this course to get training, and then 5 years later, your permit expires. Well, we elect this public official, the sheriff who runs these things. You'd think they could send an email out, something, to let it know it expired. I could have very well been carrying around a firearm for 2 months illegally. I could have gotten stopped, and it could have been pretty drastic for me. I could have gone to jail and everything else. Luckily, I identified that it had expired. I stopped carrying, and we did it. But when I'm redoing my permit now, all my qualifications are expired because I've been out of the military for so long. And I even have a shooting school where I teach people CCW so they can get their permits. And they said, you have to get a form showing you've been to a course. I'm like, I teach them. And I'm going to call up the president of my company, and I'm going to tell him, hey, print me off a form. And she goes, okay, that sounds wonderful. I'm like, are you kidding me? You just nullified your own requirements.
Yeah,
I just told you I'm going to basically fraudulently create this document, even though I'm more well-trained than anyone in that sheriff's office.
The funny thing is you're probably dealing with people that are going to look at that paper and then look at you and do like the stiff back look, like something out of Office Space, and just like, I don't know. Yeah? Good?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much what it's like. And once again, for a constitutional right, it's people need to reaffirm their constitutional rights and take every opportunity they have to practice civil disobedience. Not actively break the law, but, civil disobedience. Do things that expresses how you feel without violating anything that's going to cause you to go to jail.
How long do you think it'll be before that becomes illegal, though? How long do you think they'll find a way to take away that constitutional right and then be able to take you to jail for that?
It's already illegal. You can be arrested for obstruction of justice for almost anything. So if you're practicing civil disobedience and a cop wants to arrest you for obstruction of justice, you're going to jail. Now, you're going to win in court, but it's just one of those things. There's a law for everything, so the government can get away with everything they want to.
I don't like that. See, I want to be civilly, disobedient at times, just to stand up for myself, to stand up for my rights, and maybe bring to light certain things. But just the thought of jail time, no thanks.
Yeah.
No way. That's why I could be disobedient on this show. Unless we have important people on or something like that, and then we don't want to do that. No corporate disobedience. So I'm rooting from afar. I'm sitting on my couch and I got I put the leather glove on, and I feel like a 72 Olympian right now. Fight the power from a distance. I don't want to go outside and have a government drone follow me and then zap me as soon as I do something wrong, because that's what it's going to happen. We're all going to have drone. This is called full circle, folks. We're going to have our own drone follow us. We're going to get a Social Security card. We're going to get a free ID.
Can we paint our own drones like personalized colors?
No, because it's from the bedazzle. That'd be nice. Just giving people more reason to think I'm an idiot or a liberal on this show by going, ooh, bedazzles. But anyway, I have a daughter, so sparkly stuff is a big part of my life.
Whatever, man, it's cool.
We're gonna have our own drones just following us around. You're gonna get a birth certificate. You're gonna get a Social Security card that's not worth anything. It's just gonna be a card with numbers on it, nothing really behind it. And then we're gonna get a drone, and and then you're gonna get taxed every year for that drone to follow you around and make sure you're good.
Well, that's the scariest thing about the NSA, and that's one of those things that I think bothers a lot of people about it. We're paying for that, right? We're paying for the NSA to leave its own citizens. That comes out of our paycheck, right? Our tax dollars pay for us to be spied on, whether or not we're for it or against it. And that's the thing that I think people lose a lot of faith in government is you have no vote. You have no real vote. Unless you're a lobbyist or can buy your own politician, you really don't have a vote. We don't have a voice anymore. So we have really no choice in where that money goes. It's forcibly taken. We're jacked. The money is taken from us and used against us. And that bothers a lot of people. It really bothers me. It's what drove me away from being a card-carrying Republican into the Libertarian Party. Right? It really bothers me that I really feel that I have no voice in what's done for, by, or against me anymore.
Yeah, that's why I don't vote. If I do, I just haven't found the candidate that I completely wholeheartedly agree with. There's one candidate that might run for president. I so want to get behind him, but then I realized he kind of looks like Dr. Cox from Scrubs, and his dad was crazy and cool. Rand Paul. He looks like Dr.
Okay, I
Cox.
can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I want to get behind him so much because he's like, I really like this guy, and then he just says something to get me to realize, like, oh, yeah, you're a politician. You're not a dude. You're not a guy. You're. I don't even know if you're real. They're robots, Rob. So I think that's what it is. They just get new skin every once in a while, repackage them. So it's the same group of robots. So, and they have, you know what they have? They have, what are those stamps? They have Masonic stamps. It's run by the Masons. You didn't know that? When you become a 34th degree, that's when you realize it, Rob.
Oh, it's the 34th. All right, I don't know. Maybe they'll tell me about that next year.
It's the super secret one. That's the one with the the 34th. They do handshakes with no hands. That's how fucking secret it is.
How many degrees are there?
It depends. I'll just say that because they can here's the thing. Whenever people ask you about that, somebody will say something offhand like, well, what degree are you? Oh, okay, I'm a whatever degree I am. Oh, well, do you know anybody that's a this degree? And you go, well, no, it only goes up to this. There's always somebody that goes, no, it actually goes up a lot higher than that. And if you don't know that, that just means you're not cool enough to know. Now, in reality, there are other organizations. So under the United Grand Lodge of England, so any American, actually forthright Mason goes up to 33rd degree. There are other organizations that have degrees that go way above the 33rd degree. And so if you ever do hear somebody saying they're like a 60th degree or a 75th degree or something like that, there are other organizations that have those degrees that go higher than the 33rd, but they're not recognized under the United Grand Lodge of England, so they're not recognized. They're what's called clandestine masonry, right? So the French it's actually a French organization. It's called Memphis and Mizraim.
Oh, wow. That's so funny.
Yeah, so those do exist, right? So there really are other organizations that do that, but not if you're like an American Scottish Rite, which I am. That only goes up to the 33rd degree.
Does it start at 1?
Yeah, it starts at 1. So you have a couple different, there's what's called the Blue Lodge, which is the 1st through 3rd degree, and so when you hear somebody say they're a Master Mason, that means they're a 3rd degree Mason. So a Master Mason it's what we call the highest degree you can actually attain. It's not the highest numerical value, but it's what's supposed to be kind of the pinnacle of Masonry, and then everything else is called an appendant body. So even though the numbers go up, it's actually kind of going horizontal, and you're just learning different aspects of the types of stuff that you hear about. And it's, there's a lot of contention between different people about that, but it just depends on where you are. It starts at 1, and then in Scottish Rite and York Rite, it goes to 33. Well, it actually goes to 32 within Scottish and York Rite. 33rd is actually above any of these organizations. It's something that's only done at the global level. And then there's all these appendant bodies you can go into, and there's all these other things that people hear about. There's certain organizations you can only go into, well, in reality, if you are from a specific bloodline, right? There are certain organizations that are like that. There are other ones that you have to be a highly decorated military veteran to be a part of. So Wild Bill Donovan, the guy who was in the OSS and is one of the forefathers of Special Forces in the CIA, he was a Mason, and he was a member of an organization I'm trying to become a part of, that you have to be a Mason, you have to be a Master Mason, you have to have progressed to a certain amount, you have to be a military veteran, you have to have certain things, and you can't apply for it, you have to be invited into this organization, and I'm trying to get to be a part of that because there's a lot of really cool things that they do.
See, I just want to be a Mason, so I don't want anybody thinking that I'm making fun of Masons. I just think it's fun. I play up on they're trying to take over the world. No, seeing if they are, I went in on that shit. So I just have so much studying I got to do, and I've talked to a mutual friend of ours that is a Mason, and he gave me the you might have heard this or seen this or read about this. Here's the truth. This is what happens. This is what you got to do. And I'm like, Okay, maybe after this semester. That's what
Yeah.
that's my plan. After this semester, when I can just like worry not worry, when I can concentrate on something else, yeah, that's what I want to do. But if I'm gonna find out if there's like another secretive group that only takes pogs, like you have to be a service member, you can't be of combat arms or anything like that. If you're a mechanic, if you're a supply, I'll be like, oh God, that's me. Yeah.
I'm sure they're out there. I'm sure they're out there, man. Because that's, a lot of people. I guess some people know, some people don't know. There's a lot of Masons in the military. There are a lot of Masons in the military.
I
So
made the first mistake I ever made in the military, Egypt, and I sat down and when I was commo, go to the commo stand, and I see this book, and I'm like, I'm gonna read it. I'm bored. I like to read, so I was reading, and it was a Masonic book I wasn't supposed to be reading, I suppose, because I got a backhand. This gentleman gave me a backhand, and he goes, "Don't ever touch my book again." Are you a Mason? I'm like, no. Are you careless? Why'd you leave a book out I'm not supposed to read? Of course I'm gonna read it. If it was a
was it
Playboy,
in
I would
English?
have read it.
Was it in English? Could you read it?
I could read it. It wasn't Scottish Rite. It was Prince
Prince Hall.
Prince Hall. Prince Hall Mason. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different. So that's Prince Hall was actually a black Mason. He was the first black Mason allowed to be a Mason, and he started his own kind of offshoot of Masonry. So whenever you meet a lot of black Masons, especially in the military, they're Prince Hall Masons. It's just a different form of Masonry. Just like the other things, they're just another appendant body, but they go through all the degrees. They're recognized by the United Grand Lodge of England, so they're in all good standing, they're Masons. It's just another form of Masonry.
Smacked me. It's like you just smacking another adult man for reading your book. It's like, come on,
Well,
man.
in all reality,
Don't let it get out.
the most important stuff is never written down. That's why we use like symbols and symbolism and like esoteric stuff that people can't really understand unless it's been explained to you. And then even the books, the books that other people aren't really supposed to know about, they're not written in English. They're all written in cipher. So unless you have learned the cipher, you don't know what the hell it says. Even me, who knows the cipher, some of it's pretty hard to understand. Like I got to go back a couple times.
This book was boring. I'm like, screw this. I'm gonna read a TM. I have to sit here for 8 hours. I just toss that book to the side. I'm like, I'd rather read a TM. That's how boring it was what was I at the time? A 21-year-old private? I'm like, this sucks. I'll read a TM. There's nothing out there more boring than a damn, especially when it doesn't relate to your job.
Yeah. Well, that's, and that's why they say, that's why Masons aren't allowed to invite other people to be Masons. It has to be something you come to of your own accord. Because in all reality, if you're just there for dinner or for socializing or networking or because you want to try and overtake the world, you're not going to get as much out of it. Like, guys like me that went in because they had a lot of questions, you have this inquisitive mind, and so you approach a lot of that stuff differently. And it's just got to be the right place at the right time for the right person. And it really is just one of those things you get out of it what you put into it. So if you are like me or like Brother Robert Johnson or a lot of other people, and you do your own research and you look into a lot of that stuff and you learn the ciphers and you learn Hebrew and you learn how to kind of go into a lot of these other texts and manuscripts, you'll get a lot out of it. But if you just show up for dinner and just want to show up once a week, you're not going to get that much out of it.
I know street Yiddish. I'm halfway there.
Halfway there. That's almost there. The whole point, like I was learning Hebrew so I could actually read the Old Testament as it was written and not through a translation. Just because I saw some stuff on that. I saw some stuff, and I wanted to figure out if it's true or not.
Well, you know what? It's all Greek to me.
Yeah.
That was, God, no. That was a translation joke. Damn it.
Okay. On that note, I think we've about hit the end of our time for this evening. But there is one thing that I always take a lot of pleasure in, and that's asking Joe if he's got a best or worst tweet for humanity.
Yes, I do. I had some idiot, and I'm gladly calling him that. I was off on Friday. I had just taken 3 tests right before that. So I'm just decompressing my brain and not doing anything. I played video games and I had a nice IPA at like 11:30 in the afternoon. And I'm like, nah, I'm bored. I'm going on Twitter. And there was it's called What the F Facts. It's a really cool
Oh yeah.
Twitter page. I like that. And they said something about Miles Davis one time recorded 4 albums in 2 days on one take. And my response was, nobody likes a show off. Fun. I am a musician myself. Well, I had this freaking Twitter white knight just attack me. Oh, that's called being a genius. That's not being a show. It's called sarcasm, jackass. And he went after me, and I tore him up. I just laid into this kid. I mean, it was bad. So my best worst tweet was, he's like, you look old and your wife doesn't put out or something. And my response to him was that he looked like Rocky Dennis from the movie The Mask. And yeah. 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 See,
all right. I don't know if I can get behind that.
I like to make good references. If he doesn't, he just had a really big forehead. So, what is it? Craniodysplasia, something like that is the disease. And I'm like, I said you have that, and you say I look old. What kind of comeback is that? And then I told him he looked like an abortion that survived, and end of story. I won. So the best worst tweet was, I was the worst tweet Friday because I don't like when somebody steps on my hopes. It's like, don't pull that. Just enjoy a good joke if you don't like it. And I was like, nobody likes to show off. I was just nice, dry sense of humor. I just attacked this kid. He's probably crying right now. He probably at one point listened to the show and then realizes me, and I don't like that show anymore. So
you're a Twitter bully, Joe.
No, I'm not a Twitter. Yeah, you know what? I was a bully in real life. I was a skinny guy. Listen, I said a lot in high school, and you have to back it up. So I'm not a bully. I'm consistent.
All right. Well, on that note, from all of us bullies that are over here, I'd like to say thanks everyone for joining us wherever you may have gotten it this evening, whether you follow us on Google Hangouts and follow this live. If you want to do that, all you got to do is like the Google Plus page for Center Mass with Rob and Silent J. Whether you're watching us on YouTube at some later point, getting this on vetsonmedia.com or via the Vets on Media live stream, Podbean, iTunes, wherever else in the world that we are. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being here. I'd like to send out some shameless plugs to all of our friends. First and foremost, thanks to Ray for being here and talking about Heroes and Horses. Again, you can go check out, if you're not on Google Hangouts right now, we'll put all that stuff up on the Facebook page and Twitter and try and get it on vetsonmedia.com. And again, that's heroesandhorses.com, heroesandhorses.com, heroesandhorses.com just once. Make sure you click on the SF Solo Mission, read a little bit about it, and to donate, go to the GoFundMe campaign. I did send some stuff out on the Facebook page that had links directly to that GoFundMe campaign for Heroes and Horses, so make sure you click on that, send a little bit of money. It doesn't matter if you can't give $1 million. If you can only give $10, give whatever you can give, because it goes to a great cause, great organization that's going to do a lot of really good things for a lot of really good veterans and active duty soldiers who could use the help. Especially, helping my buddy Al Ray with his crusade to make that trip out there and help this organization. Of course, don't forget to check out vetsonmedia.com if you're not there already. Check out tactical16.com and the great books under Tactical 16 Publishing, like Love Me When I'm Gone, the true story of life, love, and loss for Green Beret and post 9/11 war. Actually, I was on a podcast called The Art of Charm, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, and I guess they just passed like 75,000 listens to that episode, so they started to retweet again this week and asked me to support it. So I actually went through and listened to it again. It was a pretty good interview, if I don't say so myself. It was a lot of fun sitting down with Jordan Harbiner, who we've actually had on this show. So go check that out on the Art of Charm podcast. That was a lot of fun. Got to send some love out to IronMikeMag.com. I had a good talk with our buddy Brian earlier this week. Iron Mike is going to be a live publication soon. So right now it's an online men's magazine. It's going to print. So that's pretty cool. So get on the Iron Mike bandwagon while you can, because that's a lot of fun. What else am I missing, Joe? I know I'm missing something. Who else do we need to plug?
Wow. Yeah, back to you, Rob. No, I just got to do a quick plug for myself. I just got picked up by a magazine, a brand new magazine in Buffalo that I'll be writing for. So I'll be talking about the locations with the best cocktails in the city of Buffalo, and my never-ending quest for the perfect Manhattan that's not made in my house.
So that means you can now write off every time you go to a bar. That's a taxable deduction.
Yep, that's right.
That is awesome.
See, I'm not going. I know what I'm good at, and I'm good at two things. I'm good at drinking a nice cocktail and finding a way to get money back from the IRS. I haven't succeeded, but I'm getting there. So yeah, and that'll be out. That'll be soon. I'll give the actual plug once my first article's out. So, but yeah, ironmikemag.com, betsonmedia.com. Love Me When I'm Gone. That's a great book. I look forward to the future books from Rob, and yeah, I'm working on a Tactical 16's first documentary. I just started filming that. So
awesome. Oh, you guys already started filming?
Yeah, it'd be basically a solo project. That's and certain stuff we talked about. So yeah, I started filming my parts, and I'm doing the Dummies Guide to iMovie. So gotta love YouTube, man. It teaches you a lot.
Oh, that sounds cool, man. And I've actually, so whenever you get to the point where we're gonna start talking about it, that's pretty cool, because you and I have had our own discussions offline about that, and it's a pretty cool undertaking. So I can't wait to see how it comes along. And again, we've talked about that. If you need me to do anything at all, I'm there 100%, because it sounds like an awesome project. I also got to throw one more shameless plug out there. If I do pass my test tomorrow, it's going to be because of these guys. So anybody that hasn't got on the On It train yet, my entire study session for the last month has been fueled entirely by Alpha Brain. I actually ran out like 2 or 3 days ago, and I went, holy shit! I was doing the math, looking at my bottle, and I went, oh my god, I don't have enough left. I'm gonna run out the day that I need to take my test. And I was like, oh Jesus, no! So I had to go to onit.com. I used that checkout code RPL, which saved me, took 10% off. Yes, I use my own discount coupon because I'm just a cheap bastard, so I'm like that. But I did express shipping, and it got here yesterday morning, and so now I'm at max dose for the last couple of days because my head is just so full of numbers that are about to start pouring out of my ears. But if I pass tomorrow, it's all because of these guys. So if you haven't got on the Alpha Brain train yet, make sure you do. If you've never tried it before, give it a shot. Go to onit.com, get the Alpha Brain, use that checkout code RPL, and you'll get yourself 10% off. And you'll send a bit of love to this show and help us kind of keep doing our thing. And you'll make yourself a little bit better. You'll make yourself a better, smarter, faster human, which is something that we definitely are behind. Anything else to add before we sign off, Joe?
No, just Rick, thanks for being on. And you know what all three of us do is something that you can do. Find something that you're passionate about, latch onto it, and help it out.
That's a pretty damn good way to end, man. Make yourself a better person.
I'm good for something at the end. I'll throw out my bullshit. I'm good for one positive line of show.
All right, well, I'm going to go get back to studying. I got about 2 more hours of numbers to cram somewhere into the space in my gray matter and then write it all down before it starts falling out. And hopefully I will be having a celebratory drink in about 11, 12 hours to celebrate a job well done. So to everybody that has joined us, thank you very much. Cinemaster and Rob and Silent J. I'm Rob.
I am Silent J.
And for Jay, for Ray, for myself, I'd like to say make sure you don't fire unless fired upon. Stand your ground. If they mean to have a war, then let it begin here. We're out, bitches.
I got some new music.
You want techno on us, Joe?
I'm trying to get smart like you.
Dubstep makes me insane, but it makes me work better.
All right, where is it now?